Hi guys, and welcome to the Scotmid kitchen. And as we head into autumn, I think it's all about wrapping up warm and some really lovely, gorgeous comfort food. And this one has a bit of a Halloween twist. It's my Macaroni Squeeze. And this is basically a way of showing you how to get things like pumpkin and squash into your family so they absolutely fall in love with it. We have got a butternut squash here. Feel free to use a pumpkin if you want to. Now, I think the thing with squash and pumpkin is they taste great. They're so good for you, but they are such a pain to cook up because have you ever tried peeling a squash? The best way to cook a squash is in fact to bake it as if you would a jacket potato. So literally don't peel, don't chop, don't fuss. Preheat your oven to 180, 200, don't even fuss about the temperature particularly. Okay, so this squash has had about 45-50 minutes and it's cooled slightly. So let me show you. All you have to do then is with a sharp knife, cut it down the center. And you can see the whole thing. The color of this is amazing. It's cooked through, and I'm going to scoop out about 200 grams, but don't get too caught up in measurements. I mean, that's very rough. For the full recipe details, don't forget, go to our Facebook page, which is at Scotmid Food. So next, what I want to do is to puree the squash right down. Now, if you don't have a food processor, make sure your squash is really cooked through. Give it an extra 10 minutes or so you can mash it with a fork or the masher. Okay, so the squash goes in, and you just whiz it up. At this stage, it's probably a good idea to get some pasta going. And while that's cooking, the sauce. Now, this is a basic white sauce, and we're going to add to it some cheese, which you'll see in a second, and the squash. In a saucepan, non-stick, if you can, I've got some flour, some butter, and some milk, cold from the fridge, because that helps with no lumps occurring. You keep whisking, whisking, whisking on a medium heat. And as you whisk and the butter melts and the milk heats through, it will thicken to a sauce. Okay, so that is now a lovely consistency, and I'm ready to put the whole thing together. So I'm going to add my pureed squash and most of the cheese. And give it one final stir through, and the heat of the sauce will melt the cheese and it will come together and it will just look great. So I've got my cooked pasta that's been drained, and that's in a casserole dish. You could use macaroni, that's the obvious choice, Macaroni Squeeze. I find macaroni a little bit sticky sometimes, so I'm using rigatoni, which is like big macaroni basically, but use any pasta shapes you want. I'm going to basically pour my sauce onto the pasta. And the squash adds a real sweetness as well. It's a great flavour. Give it a bit of a stir through so everything is coated. Now, here's some little add-ons that you don't have to do. You could serve this exactly as it is with some black pepper, gorgeous. But random crust of bread. You could zhuzh it up in a food processor, but I'm just going to tear it up so you get some really lovely crunchy bits, because in a minute I'm going to brown this off in the oven. I saved over some of the cheese, so I'm going to sprinkle that on. Tomatoes. Now, when you cut tomatoes, I'm going to show you how to make sure they always look great with the seeds the right way. What you're looking for with tomatoes is you're looking to cut across the hills, not the valleys. So if you look at a tomato, you'll see that actually there's always a bit of a, well, my kids call it a bum shape basically, so you could say cut across the bum. There's my valley, here's my hill, I'm cutting across the hill. Take a look. So I'm going to add some of the chopped tomato onto the pasta dish and put it in the oven for about 10 minutes, maybe not even that, just to brown off a little bit, and the cheese will bubble and crisp up, and it will just be gorgeous. Ah, the smell of this is just terrific, and it looks great too. Don't forget, for more tips, ideas, recipes, to be the first to know, get it on your timeline live, make sure you like us on Facebook. We're at Scotmid Food. Follow us on Twitter, again at Scotmid Food, and you can subscribe to this YouTube channel totally free as well. So this, I reckon, is a perfect tea time idea for the kids, and look at that sneaky veg too. Or if you have the girls over for lunch, glass of wine, bit of green salad, perfect.